Hello everyone, I'm Jane here at the Stitchin' Post, and I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to join us for our video presentation of some Valentine sewing inspiration. As you probably know, during normal times we have a wide variety of classes here in the shop, in our classrooms, and one of those class offerings is what we call Viking Club, and it's a variable hodgepodge potpourri of inspiring projects, sewing tips, and techniques. It often involves a trunk show from a designer. It may be a quilting designer. It may be a garment pattern designer. We may have a fashion show. Lots of different things that we show you in our Viking Club. What you may not know is, even though it's called Viking Club and we are a Husqvarna Viking machine dealer, you don't have to have a Viking machine to attend Viking Club to join us. Everyone is invited, and we think that you will all find inspiration and some helpful suggestions in the techniques that we show. So we're doing a video version this month, and we're going to show you some inspiring Valentine projects and some of the techniques that are involved in those projects.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I'm Cindy at the Stitchin' Post, and Jane asked if we would come up with a little project for Valentine's Day. And we all need a little extra love right now. So the thing I immediately thought of was that I love my Accu quilt cutter. So I came up with a little project that I made using my Accu quilt cutter and my dies. And this is the project I made. It's just a little wall hanging with baskets and a little wool applique heart in the middle. I mean, who doesn't love baskets of pink flowers? And I'm partial to pink flowers because my Master Gardener project is the roses at Mount Holly, and they're all pink. So that's what I thought of. So to make this little basket, it's super easy. If you have a cube, use it. If you don't have one, you need to get one. I love the cubes because we have a little brochure here that you have 72 different blocks that you can make with a cube. There are basic shapes. They're wonderful. And then if you get proficient with that, you can add the companions that go with it, and you can make lots more blocks with your cube. So I will show you. This is the basket quilt. It is right here, and it gives you the directions. It tells you which pieces out of your cube to use. So what I did, I pulled the pieces. These are the little triangles that are in the basket. These, I don't know if you can see them, and they're rectangle pieces that are part of the basket. And then these are the base of the basket is bigger triangles. And I thought I'd just give you a little short idea of how to make these. I kind of pre-cut my pieces. I use my ruler and I kind of measure the die. The dark part is the part that you're going to cut out. So I just kind of pre-measure and I pre-cut my pieces. Now you want to run your pieces through with a lengthwise grain going this way. So I have this piece. I'm just going to lay on it and cover all the dark spots there on the die. Lay this one on here. And you put your little mat on and you run it through the cutter. It's super easy, super fast, and more important, it's very, very accurate. You give it a little love and you slide it over, and voila, you have your pieces cut. So I have pre-cut out. This is a basket that I decided to make. I cut out the pieces already on those, and I'm going to add these. So this is the basket base. If I have that right, I may have that backwards. I think they go this way. I'll get it right in a minute here. Maybe not. These pieces go this way. See, that's why I love pictures. And then this is the bottom. So that would be your basket. And this one I have done with pink and brown. Now, for Valentine's Day, it would be kind of fun to do a little heart in the middle. So I've done my heart with Wool Applique. So this is the heart die that I used. There are 3 different sizes of hearts. And I used the large one and the medium size one. So again, I just kind of pre-measured my heart and I cut out my wool. I did a soft fuse on the back of it first, and then I will lay it down over the die. And I'm going to do this one with the center in a cream colored wool. And I just lay it on there. And you can run it through. And I really, really, really like Wool Applique. If you haven't tried it, it's a lot of fun. Easy preparation. And then you've got them cut out, and you just peel the back off and fuse them together, and you have a beautiful heart that you can grab your Valentine thread, which we have, and just blanket stitch by hand. It's a very quick little project, so very nice. These are all fabrics from the Eleanor's Endeavor line that we recently received. They're Betsy Chutchin with Moda fabrics. They're beautiful. She does beautiful reproduction fabrics. We have quite a few bolts of them. We have a really pretty kit made out of them. These are a couple of other Accu quilt dies that have hearts. These are kind of fun. This is the Queen of Hearts. They're kind of funky, so if you want to make something kind of out of some funky fabric, that would be fun. The other one is a pieced heart, and it is the wonky heart. And you cut out, these are all different pieces. I think this would be fun if you had a friend or somebody that was going through cancer treatment and you just wanted to make them a sweet little lap quilt, you know, make them a little heart quilt. It would be super fast to cut it out and sew it together and give it to somebody for a little comfort that's going through some treatment. So I made this into a wall hanging, but you really could do this as a pretty little table topper. I would probably spin my baskets so they were pointing out and maybe eliminate the heart in the middle, but you could also use it to make one of those long pillows for your bed. So there are just a lot of possibilities. If you don't have an Accu quilt cutter, please come by and talk to us. We'll show you one. You will love it. It will cut out a lot of time that you spend cutting with a rotary cutter and cutting and measuring. It's just so fast and it's very accurate. And as they like to say, you can spend less time cutting and more time sewing. So I hope you'll come by and see them. You too will love the Accu quilt cutter. Thank you.
So I'm Jane, and the first Valentine project that I wanted to show you today is this little jacket that I have made. This is made from our Luxe Cuddle from Shannon Fabrics. It is lined with silky satin polyester solid, also from Shannon Fabrics, in this pretty pastel pink. I've made this for my granddaughter, but I've made a size 4. She's a petite 2-year-old, so I won't be sending it to her right away. It'll be here in the shop for a little while. The pattern that I used is Robin's Little Jackets from Children's Corner. This is a classic pattern. It's one of my all-time favorites. It comes in sizes 6 months through 8 years, two size ranges in the pattern. This is the larger size range. I like this pattern because it's easy to make. It's suitable for boys and girls, and it's very boxy. It's not a fitted jacket. It's very square cut, so it's not going to bind under the arms if it's being worn over a garment with puffed sleeves or long sleeves. It's going to be easy for the child to put on and take off. So this is just it's a favorite pattern of mine. I think I've made every size from 6 months to probably 5 or 6 years. Unfortunately, the bad news is Children's Corner has discontinued this pattern and they're no longer printing it. We do have a good supply of the larger size range, the size 4 to 8, and we have managed to scrounge a few of the smaller size pattern. I know many of you probably already have this pattern in your library, but if not, if you're needing it, we can help you with that at this point, but when they're gone, they'll be gone. When you make this jacket, I would suggest that if you haven't used the Robin's jacket pattern before, or if you haven't used it in a while, that you might want to make the jacket first out of a woven fabric. I have a couple of samples here of Robin's jacket and this one's corduroy. Actually, both of these are corduroy lined with a quilting weight cotton. And if you do it in a woven fabric, it will help you to understand the construction process. It's not difficult, but you do at one point sew the side seams kind of and turn it kind of through a hole. It's a little bit of a trick to get your head around. And so if you're doing it on a woven fabric, it may be a little easier the first time, and then you can move on to the minky. When you are working with minky, there are a few tips to keep in mind that will help you. First of all, when you're cutting out your garment, it's best to use a rotary cutter if at all possible. So on the straight edges, you can use a rotary cutter and a ruler. On the gentle curves, you can actually freehand with the rotary cutter. It's going to be much easier for you than trying to cut it with scissors. You might want to keep your little dust buster or other hand vacuum handy when you're doing this, because it will make it will make a lot of lint, a lot of mess as you go along. Might want to take your pieces outside after you've cut them and shake them off to get rid of some of that excess. That will help keep your sewing room cleaner. When you're ready to sew, you will want to use lots of pins. Pins will be your friend. There's nap here, there's some stretch, there's some slipperiness, so pins will help you. You may even want to hand baste your layers together in certain situations that are a little tricky to keep the pins in place. So keep that in mind, just be patient, it will be worth it in the end. On your sewing machine, we typically recommend a walking foot when you're sewing with minky. A walking foot has feed teeth actually on the bottom of the foot itself. So when you put a walking foot on, your fabric is feeding with the feed teeth on the machine and with the feed teeth on the bottom of the foot, so that it keeps your layers moving all together and helps prevent the layers from slipping. On this particular minky, when I tried sewing with the walking foot, I did notice that it was pulling my fabric a little bit, and so I didn't really like that. I didn't think that was what I wanted. So I decided that I would try the roller foot, and I will tell you, I had never used this foot before. It actually has little wheels. As you see here, little wheels, 4 little wheels. And so as you sew, it rolls along on your fabric. And I tried it, and I gotta tell you, it was absolutely great. If I put my needle in the right hand position and used the edge of my presser foot, I was able to achieve my 1/4 inch seam that the children's corner patterns call for, and it worked very, very well. This foot is useful in some other situations as well. And like I said, it was the first time I'd used it, but I do recommend it for this purpose. When you sew your seams, you will want to press your seams, but you do need to be careful when you're pressing minky. It's polyester. If you're using a minky dot and you press with too hot an iron or too heavy an iron, you can actually flatten those dots out and they will be gone. So press carefully when you are pressing your seams. I originally intended, when I made this jacket, to use snaps. I was going to use these big silver snaps and just sew a button on to make it look like the jacket had buttons and buttonholes, but actually utilize snaps. And certainly you could absolutely do that if that is your preference, if you would rather not make buttonholes. But I kind of got to thinking, and I thought, well, if I did want to make buttonholes, could I do that? So I thought about how I would go about that, and I actually ended up making buttonholes in my jacket. And so I'd like to show you how I went about that, because our Viking machines are actually very helpful to make this easier. On your Viking machine, you have your sewing advisor where you can select the type of fabric that you're using. And when you're using minky, you really want to use heavyweight woven as your sewing advisor setting. If I tell the machine that I want to make a buttonhole, select the buttonhole from the sewing techniques. The machine will recommend that I make a manual buttonhole using the C presser foot, which is the manual buttonhole foot that comes with your machine. You also have the automatic buttonhole foot that has a wheel, looks kind of like this, but has a wheel on the side and a cord that plugs into the machine. This is the manual buttonhole foot, which is the C foot, and this is used to make the buttonhole on heavyweight fabrics. It's not difficult. You start by marking the size of the buttonhole that you need, and because it would be very difficult to mark on the minky fabric, and also because stitching over all this nap could present a problem, I decided I would use a dissolvable plastic stabilizer like we use when we embroider monograms on terry towels on top of my minky for my buttonholes. And I realized I could mark my buttonhole on the dissolve-away plastic stabilizer. So you just simply lay your button down, and I'm using a lot of contrasting elements here just to make it easier for you to see today. But you would mark the size of your button. Be a little bit generous because this button does have some thickness to it. So I've now marked the end points of my buttonhole. I'm going to draw a line to connect those. And you really might want to use a ruler to do this. Make it heavy enough that you're going to be able to see it when it's under the sewing machine. So I'm now going to take a sample of the exact fabrics I'm going to be making my buttonholes in, which is my minky, my silky satin solid lining. I'm going to put the topper on top and a layer of tearaway stabilizer underneath. So I've got 4 total layers: my fabric, my lining, my topper, and my tearaway stabilizer underneath. And I'm going to put in a couple of pins to hold those in place. And now I'm ready to make my trial buttonhole. So I'm going to give Stacy a chance to get where you can see this. I like to sort of crank my needle down by hand into my starting point to make sure it's where I want it. Make sure my line is perpendicular to my fabric edge if I were sewing at the edge of my jacket. Press her foot down. And when I'm doing a programmed buttonhole, I use the start-stop button. This particular technique, I like to use the foot pedal. So start sewing. And you see, this is not just a simple zigzag. It's actually sort of making a boxed zigzag stitch. And I'm just following my line, going backwards. When I get to the point where I've marked the end of my buttonhole, I'm going to stop. I'm going to push the reverse button. Then I'm going to keep sewing. When I get to the starting point, I'm going to stop push the reverse button one more time. And my buttonhole is finished. The machine will stop when it's finished the buttonhole, and there's my buttonhole. And you see it's turned out very well. So when I did this first trial buttonhole, I showed it to Stacy, and she said, yeah, that's great, but you know, that's minky, and that buttonhole, as it's used over time, may stretch out some. She said, why don't you try cording the buttonhole? So I said, well, okay, let me see about trying that. So I went and found something I could use for cording just to try. And I found some size 8 pearl cotton, which may be a little heavier than what you would really want to use, but figured it would work for a trial purpose. You cut a length of your cording considerably longer than your buttonhole because you want some leftover to work with. Before I go on to put this cording on here, let me just show you one very, very, very important trick. Once I've stitched this buttonhole, and I would want to actually cut it and make sure that it's going to accommodate my button, once I've decided that it is exactly the buttonhole I want, I can push the stop button on my machine. Not the start-stop button, but the stop button. On some machines, this actually looks like a stop sign. So if I push that stop button, the light has come on, and now each time I start sewing, the machine is going to reproduce this buttonhole. It's going to make this exact same buttonhole however many times I need it to be made. So I'm all set now. I don't have to watch my beginning and ending marks anymore. I can simply let the machine sew until it's finished. My cording, I'm going to take this foot off so that you can see this little protrusion on the back of this buttonhole foot here. That is what I am going to hook my cording around like this. And it's going to come under the foot toward the front like this. So I'm going to do that actually after I get the foot on, but I wanted you to see how it works. And I'm just going to have another mark made here just to give you an idea of what I would be doing on my next buttonhole. I would get lined up. I think I would actually even put my needle down at my starting point. But before I put my presser foot down, I'm going to take this cording, wrap it over that little protrusion, and bring it toward the front. Kind of even up the ends here. And now I'm going to put the presser foot down. And as it stitches, the stitches are going to go over this cording, and it's going to pull the cording back as it needs to accommodate the length of the buttonhole. My job is simply to guide the foot to keep it aligned with the mark that I've made for my buttonhole, and kind of keep a little tension on the cording to make sure that it's staying in position. Again, the buttonhole, it stops when it's finished. Lift my presser foot. I could have used my thread cutter, I just didn't have it turned on. Now, I've used black thread so that you can see it here. I'm going to pull on the cording to pull that loop up into the buttonhole. If I were doing this for actual garment purposes, I would use obviously matching thread and matching cording. But at this point, you would thread these thread ends through a needle, take them to the back, and just run the ends under your buttonhole stitches to secure those. Then your buttonhole is securely corded, so it's going to hold its shape and not stretch out over time. So if you want to challenge yourself a bit, to make some buttonholes in heavier fabric, perhaps napped fabric. This manual buttonhole works great for denim, canvas, any kind of heavier weight fabric. So Again, your Viking machine makes this technique very fast and easy, and remember to use that stop button so that you can reproduce the buttonhole in the size that you need, the number of times that you need it on your garment. I hope that you enjoyed this little demo, and I hope you like my little Valentine jacket, and I thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I have a couple of Valentine's projects I'd like to show you today using the yo-yo makers. You know, they come in other shapes besides round, and there are two heart Valentine makers, heart yo-yo makers. This is the large one. It is still available. We have a good supply. This is the small heart yo-yo maker. If you look on the package, the picture here is the actual size of the yo-yo you get when you use this yo-yo maker. The small one, unfortunately, has been discontinued, but we found a large supply of these, and I've got it. If you don't have one in your stash, I would definitely hop on it and add one of these. They're really fun, very versatile. For example, this is the small heart yo-yo maker on a onesie. Jane made flowers. This is rickrack. She glued the rickrack down with Roxanne's Glue Basted. It's a temporary product. It remains soft and it'll wash out. And then she whip stitched the rickrack to give it that two-tone look. The yo-yo heart is just tacked on to the onesie. The leaves are 2 layers of fabric fused together with soft fuse, and then they're just stem stitched down the middle. If you were going to wash this a lot, you might want to blanket stitch the edges or sew it down with a few more stitches in the middle. These little yo-yo heart flowers would be cute on the bottom of a little girl's jumper. They'd be great on a tea towel. I thought it would be cute on a zipper bag. My girls would really enjoy that. So this is also using the small heart yo-yo maker. This is the strawberry tea towel from Marsha Layton Designs. It's in a pattern called Fruit Cocktail. There are 6 projects available, and this is just one, the strawberry. So it has the extra small round yo-yo maker and the small heart yo-yo maker. Cute projects. Any of these could be used on a variety of projects, zipper bags, tea towels, garments. That's what I wanted to show you. I also want to remind you, we have a link on our website now to our YouTube channel. A few weeks ago, I did a demo on how to use the yo-yo makers, and it is up on our YouTube channel now if you want to watch that demo again. The channel is Stitch and Post Little Rock. So look for that, and we'll have some more videos posted soon. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Megan from the Stitch and Post, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Ruru Bouquet quilt. We have kits made up for you, and here's the beautiful quilt right here. It has a finished size of 76.5 by 84 inches, so it's a rather large quilt. It's beautiful, and it gives the effect of a bargello. It's very easy to put together. It is done totally in squares. The top is totally in squares, and then the border is just a solid piece. So this beautiful quilt, very easy and quick to put together. The pattern does call for a 4.5 inch square to be cut, but we decided that we would size it up to a 5 inch to give you a slightly larger quilt. And we also have something to show you also today that will make this a lot easier for you. So this is the Ruru Bokeh quilt, and I just think it's beautiful. We are going to walk over here to the Go Cutter, to the Accu Quilt Go Cutter. Remember I said that we were cutting 5 inch squares instead of 4.5 inch squares. To make it easy, we have this Accu Quilt square cutter. And so it's easy, it will cut 2 at a time. And it's like this, and you just put it in here, put your fabric on top, and just roll it through. So it's very easy to use, very quick. I just think it's a beautiful and very quick quilt to put together. The quilt kit does include yardage, so you will need to cut the 5-inch squares. So just to let you know, there it is. It's very easy. You gotta keep it very organized. So you label all of your stacks of your different fabrics as you go. And then what I did on the pattern was I put whether it was stack number A, B, or C, and that made it easier for me as I was putting it together. Let me lay that right there. A design wall would be extremely helpful, and we do have those, and we can order those. It would be so much easier to be able to lay this out as you go. But it's a beautiful quilt, and I think it's a lot of fun. Now we're going to talk about the different quilter feet that we have. Let me walk here, I'm sorry. The different quilting feet that we have to use on all Husqvarna Viking machines. Your machine comes with this 1/4-inch piecing foot. It has a single hole in the center. You just put it on straight stitch, on your number 1 straight stitch. And I will show you what it does. There's several ways to get a beautiful, perfect 1/4-inch seam for you. So this is really nice. Can you come in here quickly for me, Jane? Since you use the needle that goes through the center hole, and you line up your fabric to the very side, right underneath that, and you just keep sewing as you go forward, and it gives you a beautiful 1/4-inch. So you get your beautiful 1/4-inch seam allowance. The next foot that we have, and it is one that does not come with the machine, but I have found it to be one of my favorites, is the 1/4-inch edge stitching foot. And if you see it, it has a flange on the side to butt your fabric up against. It is built almost exactly like the first one that I showed you, except it does have the flange over here on the side. Okay, now the hole in the center of this one is a little bit larger, so that if you wanted to do a scant 1/4-inch, you have enough room to move your needle to the right 1 or 2 stitches, so that it will give you a scant 1/4-inch if that's what you like. Just to show you how this works, see how the flange is right here on the side, and we can just move forward. And it'll give you a beautiful 1/4-inch seam allowance. Okay. Another thing that you can do is that if you have the Husqvarna Vikings, they all come with a setting that number 2, 1. So you do that and then push your OK. This 1/4-inch seam allowance right here. And on the different machines, it comes in different places, so you kind of got to look for it. When you do that, if you notice, it kicks your needle over to the right just a hair. You see? It's not in the center. The center would be lined up with this red line. But see, it kicks your needle over to the right a few steps to give you that 1/4-inch. And so you can use it, again, this uses the side of your regular A presser foot, and you just sew straight line and keep it over there on that right hand side. and you get a beautiful 1/4 inch. So there are several ways to get that 1/4 inch. One thing that's nice about the one that comes with your machine is if you want to do something besides quilting with your seam allowances, like I know that children's corner patterns do have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and so the one that comes with the machine is a really good option for you. And that way you can use that to use your 1/4 inch seam allowance with the children's quarter patterns. It's very helpful. And then a lot of things, you decide that you want a slightly narrower seam allowance width to baste it or things like of that nature. So we are just proud to give you some options today. And again, introduce the Ruru Bouquet quilt. And like I said, we do have kits for this. And so we hope that you'll come in and have fun with sewing with us.
Hi, it's Jane, and I'm back with a little Valentine project that I think would also be great for lots of occasions other than Valentine's Day. It's a fun little project, and it's the little mini hoop jewelry projects. These little mini hoops, we carry them in the shop in either a round version or an oval version, as you see here. They come in a package of 3 because they're kind of like Lay's potato chips. You won't want to stop at just one of these. One of the things I really like about this project is you can make this as simple or as intricate as you would like. And I really don't have an example of one that's intricate to show you, but this first one that I made here does have some simple hand embroidery stitches. I think those are supposed to maybe be hyacinths, so they're done in shades of purples, and just French knots and some simple back stitching, and I added a little bow made out of silk ribbon. This little one is just a wool felt heart that I used some Roxanne's basting glue and stuck it down, did a little running stitch to hold it around the edges. And I had a cute little button that I thought would look sweet on this little heart. So I added the button and I put it in the little frame, and that was it. You can even take a piece of fabric that has a cute motif that you would like to feature in your little hoop and just simply cut it out and put it in the hoop and have your little piece of jewelry. You can add a little stitching if you choose to, or you can just leave it as is. So I'd like to show you how, this is basically how the instructions tell you to do this, but I might have a little hint or two to throw in along the way when you get ready to put one of these in your hoop. And I have the example here of the little typewriter. I chose one of the little typewriters that I wanted to feature in my hoop. And what I like to do is I like to do this on the wrong side of the fabric if possible. If I can see my design element well enough to be able to do that, I like for my lines to be drawn on the wrong side. Take your little mini hoop and get it placed where you want it so that your design is centered in there the way you want it to look, and then trace the line inside that circle where your design will be framed along the edge. Once you've drawn that line, then just take your pen and just kind of roughly draw a second circle that's about 5/8 of an inch or so larger than your original circle. It doesn't have to be exact. You can just freehand this. So once you've drawn that second line, you cut it out on that line. Then take a type of strong thread, either hand quilting thread, or you can use pearl cotton for this, and run a row of running stitches about 1/4 of an inch or a little less from the edge of your fabric. This is kind of like the old-fashioned way of making a yo-yo in a way. So once you've got your running stitches around the edge, you're going to then be ready to pull that up to fit your little disc that goes in your hoop. The hoop comes in the package with the frame and the little central element. And they suggest that you take a batting scrap and glue it onto that wooden element. So I'm using just some tacky glue here, and you don't need a lot. Just kind of put some on there, smear it around a little so that it's going to hold that batting in place. This is a great time to use up some little tiny batting scraps that really wouldn't work for anything else. I like for my batting to be just a teensy bit larger than the wooden disc because it's going to pad the edges nicely that way. So I'm going to stick that on there, and then I'm going to take my design element, which in this case is my typewriter. I'm going to lay this disc with the batting facing down, and let me see if my cameraman can show that this is lined up with that circle that I've drawn there. Then I'm just going to take my finger, hold that in place, and pull on my stitches, and it very neatly pulls it up into a little circle. Now you can check at that point and make sure that it's really centered the way you want it to be. And then if it is, you just simply take the long ends of that thread. You don't need to make a knot when you're doing those running stitches. Leave some long ends on your thread so that you can tie it down just with a simple square knot. And voila, you want to check it at this point again, make sure it's centered like you want it, and then it's ready to go into your little hoop. And angle it so that it's the way you want it with the top of your hoop where the chain would be if you're making this into a necklace. So there's my little typewriter in my hoop. Your instructions will tell you, they give you a pattern to cut a circle from wool felt. You're going to cut that circle, take your tacky glue. I'm not going to do this because I still have my strings hanging out here and I didn't bring my scissors with me, but I would put some tacky glue around the seam between the fabric and the wood hoop, and then put my wool felt circle on top of that. I would put something heavy on top to weight that down and let it dry for a little while, which won't take long because this is tacky glue that dries pretty quickly. And you have your finished jewelry item. You can put a pin back on these if you choose. If you'd rather have a pin than a necklace, you can do that with these. The chain is a separate purchase, but if you're making these for yourself, you can purchase one chain and switch it out. Or if you're giving these as gifts, you would want to purchase a chain for each one. We do have a book that has lots and lots of very, very cute embroidery designs for these little hoops. And we also have a pattern that was done by the designer who makes the hoops as well. And it has some very cute little holiday embroidery ideas for the little mini hoop jewelry. So I would just encourage you to try this, have some fun. Again, make it as simple or as intricate as you like, and express your personality.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I wanted to talk to you today about a machine embroidery designer we discovered at market a few years ago. Her name is Janet Sansom, and she's from Australia. When we first saw her designs, we were intrigued because the detail is fabulous. The digitizing is great, and we were kind of skeptical when we looked at her designs that we could get the same results. But if you follow her directions, she makes specific recommendations about the stabilizer you should use and the needle you should use. And we've had great success with her designs, and we think you will too. So I want to show you some of our favorites. This is called the Forget-Me-Not Monogram. Megan stitched this on a tea towel. It's linen with a ecru border. This is just one of the many towels we have available. This would make a great Valentine gift or just a pretty addition to your guest bath. This is the design pack. Not only does it have the alphabet, it has some border designs, some blanks, block designs, and a little floral heart here. Okay, another one of the popular designs we have from Janet Sansom is this French cross-stitch alphabet. You can see how large it is. This is very elegant. Linda stitched this pillow. It's on our natural linen. It does include all of the alphabet. If you wanted to resize this design, that could be easily done in your software. And once again, we recommend you use the stabilizer and the needle that she suggests. This bag has been in the shop for a while. Jane made this one. It's another one of Janet Sansom's fabulous monogram designs. It's called Majestic Monogram. Has quite a bit of embellishment on each letter. And it includes the entire alphabet in this pack. This bag is called the A bag. We don't have this pattern in stock anymore, but we have several that would replace it, and we can help you pull this project together. This is a lawn Jane used for the lining and the accent on the handles. And this is a linen cotton blend fabric. I want to talk to you about the stabilizer for just a moment. This is Quilter Select. It is a very fine tearaway stabilizer. It's fusible, so but not a permanent fusing. It's very crisp. When you finish with a very intricate design like these monograms or some of her floral designs, it's very easy to tear away the excess. So we recommend that you use this product. She also uses a Microtex needle for embroidery, which is a little bit different than what we're used to on our machine embroidery designs. Microtex is a very sharp point, so it would help bring out those fine details on these machine embroidery designs. Okay, if you look behind me, this is the Fiorella design. We've used it on a dress. We had a quilt in the store for a while. It is a border machine embroidery design. So all of the pieces fit together nicely. The quilt you see here on the front of the design pack is very similar to the one we had in the store. And we could help you pull those fabrics together. It would be great in lawns, which I want to show you. Jane's quilt. This is called Alyssa. Excuse me. These blocks are 10 inches. So if you wanted to stitch these wreath designs, you would need to have an Epic machine. You've got to have a 10-inch embroidery field to stitch these designs in one hooping. Since they're 10 inches square, this is the new Mega Quilters hoop. It is for the Epic machine, and it would stitch this wreath design in one hooping. The pattern for the quilt is included in the design pack. Jane's coordinated these fabulous Liberty lawns. There are 16 different lawns used in this pattern, and she coordinated her thread colors with the lawns. We could help you pull that together. Some of these Liberties are no longer available, but we have a great selection, so we could help you do that. The detail on these wreaths is just fabulous. If you wanna get close and show them. And we got those great results using the Quilter Select Tearaway Stabilizer, a Microtex needle. And the piecing on this quilt is fairly simple. Can't wait to see it quilted.
Hello everyone, my name is Patty and I want to share with you a project I've had the pleasure of working on recently. It is from an Australian pattern company named Molly and Mama, and the project name is a simple sewing folder. The pattern comes with a piece of pre-printed linen, and that's for your hand embroidery. It also comes with a printed embroidery template so that you can use this design on any project of your choosing in the future or to make another folder. The folder I made is very similar to the one on the cover of the Simple Sewing folder pattern, and it uses 8 tilde tea towel basic fabrics and 2 prints from the Plum Garden collection. And you can see on the front of the cover, the embroidered linen piece is accented with 2 of the fabrics from the tea towel prints. It has an applique hexagon that is outlined with running stitches. In addition, it has 3 running stitches that holds everything together. This one is beige, and you may not be able to see that very well on camera. So when you open it up, and the folder is held together with grosgrain ribbon, you can see that several pockets are formed with different compartments. There are 2 larger pockets, big enough to hold an embroidery hoop and your pattern. On one side of the folder, there's a zipper pocket with a really cute scallop zipper with a metal pull. There is another applique hexagon that is accented with running stitches and a mother of pearl button. In the center, there's grosgrain ribbon that you can tie spools of thread to. And on the other side, there's a piece of wool felt with an applique hexagon, again outlined with running stitches, a piece of cotton crochet trim, and the felt can hold pins and needles. There's also 2 additional pockets, one that runs the width of the project, and a pocket on top of that that has been stitched with smaller compartments to hold smaller things like zippers and scissors. There's also a place for a pen or pencil. When you turn it to the back side of the folder, you'll see that it's just a simple 9 patch with another applique hexagon and running stitches. And what you may not be able to see is that there are diagonal running stitches also that accent the back of the cover. This is really a cute project. It's easy to do. It has a lot of embellishments. If you'd like to see more of these projects made from different fabrics and different embellishments, you can go to the Molly and Mama website, search for the Simple Sewing folder, and it'll pull up pages with a variety of different folders made from several different fabrics. If you are interested in making a folder very similar to the one that we've made or similar to the one on the pattern, we've put a kit together and we welcome you to come in and take a look at it anytime you're in the store. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharon, and today I would like to show you the technique used in making our basic pillowcase, sometimes called the hot dog pillowcase. You begin, for those who are not familiar with this technique, we're just going to start at the very beginning and work through it. So to begin with, you would have 3 pieces of fabric, a 9-inch band, a 2.5-inch accent, which has been folded and pressed, and then a 27-inch body. First step would be to lay your band right side up, place your accent, center it, and then turn your body of your pillowcase right side down, facing your band, which seems a little bit weird, but that's, you've made a layer of 3 fabrics, your band, the accent, and the body. The next step would be to pin all the way across it, making sure that the edges are even and that everything, that the selvages for each piece of fabric matches. So And then the next step is where the magic starts. You take the body of your pillowcase and make a roll, starting at the bottom. Roll it all the way up until you get to the pin area. And there's where the hot dog came in. You then take the band and pull it up and repin it. And you would match up the selvages. You have to pull out the old pins too. And just pin all the way across. Just repin it, enclosing that roll. And be sure that you don't catch the roll in your pins. So you see how that step is done. You just pin it all the way across, repin it. I'm not going to do the whole thing and take up all the time, but you would come up with a tube, which you would seam 1/4 inch all the way across the width of your fabric. And this is where you'd come up. This is what you would come up with, a tube. And I don't think you can see my seam, but it's 1/4 inch. And this is where the absolute magic comes. Just reach in there and pull your tube out, your body of your pillowcase, until you have it completely out. This also assures all seams are enclosed, which gives you a neater pillowcase. Didn't want to do this earlier because I wanted you to see the technique. All right, there's your pillowcase. There's the magic. So you've got it all enclosed. It's ready for the side and bottom seams. First of all, you would take the pillowcase and fold it and trim it with the right sides out and trim it down. You want all of your selvages, which you can see there's a lot of selvages. So you would trim all the selvages away, or you can have a nice neat seam. Stitch 1/4 inch down the side, matching up your bands, be sure that they match. And then you trim it back to 1/8 of an inch, which would give you the basis for the French seam. You would turn it wrong side outwards, press it, and then make your 1/4 inch seam, which will give you your nice, neat French seam. You would do that for the side and the bottom, and then your completed pillowcase would be all neat and finished. It's a very simple, quick, easy project. Always a nice gift for a special someone, or for yourself even. We have another pillowcase that Patty has made from a different fabric, and there's all kinds of possibilities. We have numerous kits that are pre-cut, ready for you to make, so just come on in and we can help you.
Hello everybody, I'm back. This is Cindy and I'm back with another wonderful, beautiful little Valentine project. And I have a serious confession, I did not make this. Jane made it. And I have to tell you, when you come in the store, look at it. She does exquisite handwork. It is a really sweet little wool applique piece. These are all wools with beautiful little embroidery stitches and little seed pearls, and it's on a wool background. And then it's got a pretty little red houndstooth flannel to back it. And we have these really adorable little stands that we will be making additional projects to work with it. And we don't have the kits ready, but these are the wools. This is really beautiful vintage lace, and this is from Jane's own personal stash. The little seed pearls, because as we were talking, what girl doesn't love pearls? And Jane said it's a girl's second best friend. And I responded, yes, because fabric is a girl's first best friend. So if you are a little unsure about the embroidery stitches, we have this fabulous little book that has hand embroidery stitches. It's a very good informational demonstration book, has great pictures and ideas for all kinds of different embroidery stitches. So that's not a problem. If you have a problem with them, come in, we can help you. And we're using pearl cottons. Some of these are Valdani to do the stitches. Here are a couple of other little patterns that are really cute that will fit this by the same designer. There's a sweet one with a little house. You could make it up for Christmas, or it would make a cute little bird house kind of theme if you wanted to do it for spring. And then here's a pretty one with a little teapot that would be cute in your kitchen. But I think that this would be really pretty if you have girlfriends that are your best friends. They know your deepest, darkest secrets, and you just get along great. This would be a sweet little gift to get to make for them to sit on their desk. So every time they're sitting at their computer, they can know that you love them by giving them a handmade heart design. So I hope you'll come see us. We're going to have kits ready for this. It's beautiful. Come in and see it. And we hope to see you soon.
We hope you enjoyed our series of Valentine sewing projects for our Viking Club. We do Viking Club every month on the 4th weekend, so if you enjoyed this one, we hope that you'll join us in the future for our Viking Clubs. You can sign up on our website. We hope to get back to doing in-person Viking Clubs as soon as possible. The items that we showed you today are available in the shop and on our website at www.stitchandpostinc.com. You're welcome to come in and shop with us or to shop online. And when it's time for a new sewing machine in your life, we would love to show you what Husqvarna Viking has to offer. Thank you.